I'm just going to explain a bit of the actual footage that you're seeing here. What you saw was me animating an idle animation for the main character of this music video. I was just animating the idle animation for him, and then I was just finishing up the background. It's like the Lich's headquarters, expanding out from here in a kind of organic, pustule way. So you saw me animate the pus balls before. They're going to be these weird growths that explode and take over living organisms and become this undead creature, zombie-esque, but from a plant, which comes from this like Lich Lord, god of undeath, and we are in his lair. So this is the core of that root tree of pustules. I've created that one pustule. They're going to be copy pasted all over the place via Godot. I think I'm going to program this to be playable. There's also finishing up the water effects, which I'm going to animate just because that's sick as hell. I love doing effects. Here's where you start seeing me using reference. A lot of people really have this concept that they shouldn't be using reference, but it is okay to use reference. I want to appeal to you to use reference as much as possible. It's just how you use it, right? You don't want to trace. You don't want to directly recreate. I'm definitely not recreating because I've already created this piece. I tried to shift it in the direction of my reference. The Goblin Queen from Marvel's new X-Men 97 series. I changed this character just to have a complementary hairstyle to the general blue-purple color theme. I gave her red hair. Queen Beryl, Sailor Moon, is a great inspiration for female characters and heroines. I wanted to utilize parts of that. That's what you're seeing here. I just really love the X-Men 97 art style with its thick outer lines and its solid anatomy. I wanted to utilize that. Also, strong usage of color. Her outfit is full black, which is crazy because you don't lose her form at all. They always make sure that she's backlit with something and she's got this rim light so that you never really lose her form. Nothing's ever confusing about where's that arm and what have you. Using that for a lot of reference of line work and anatomy, color theory, color palettes. I'm just finishing it up here, getting more cleaned up line work, which I'll then further clean up in Toon Boom Harmony, which is vector-based, so I get a lot more detail that I can put in. Something I realized when I wasn't recording, she has a completely different face. You saw me trying on a bunch of different face orientations and characterizations, and I realized I have this twist throughout her body, and to have her face in the same orientation of 3/4, we're losing that twist. She just is 3/4. And facing forward, at some point, this is playing a symmetrical game with the composition and the cards around her. Her being in a pretty vertical, straight position does need to have some level of symmetry. So I just had her face be pretty much fully facing camera, which now creates more of a dynamic view. When she's 3/4 with her face, then she's 3/4 with her whole body. It's just less difference, less interest. Plus, I think this face works a lot better. I just can draw a face flat facing camera easier than I can a 3/4. And I think that's true, especially when designing. There's too many things I'm thinking about. For me, when it's simple and just facing camera, then I can think about design and what makes an appealing character. Then I take that and put it into a 3-dimensionality to have the best of both worlds, where the design was really good when it was like this, and now I'm turning her into a 3/4 because of the necessity of the pose or the necessity of the animation. But when I have to do both, I'm making sacrifices one way or another. I'm not designing well enough because I'm doing things for the 3-dimensionality, or I'm not doing things for the 3-dimensionality because I want design. I think that's partially why I like her face here. Now I'm pretty much finished the line work, which is, I would say, rough clean at this point. I do have a finished line work version. I just didn't record any of that. If you see my Instagram, you'll see the finished versions of this. Here it is now. Bam! The magic of editing. Look at that. Lines, hands, feet. Being a vector-based program, I got to get a lot more detail with it because I can just nudge a line if I need to. I don't necessarily need to redraw a whole line. I think it came out great. I have not transferred that to my Photoshop file. I'm still holding out that I'm going to animate this, or if nothing else, I'm going to be creating the final product in Harmony. And what I'm doing here in Photoshop is something that I feel is missing in Harmony. I think this is still ultimately the pipeline for designers, that we use Photoshop to do color theory and design and backgrounds for animated production, because there are aspects of Photoshop and other painterly styled programs where you can get an adjustment layer, you can get filters to quickly try something. What if it was darker? What if it was lighter? What if these shadows? What if this color adjustment? What if this blending style, etc.? Harmony does have some of those abilities, but I feel like they're a bit effortful to implement in the node view, because the idea is not so much let's try something for the sake of color exploration, and instead let's have a very rendered final comp for the sake of a whole scene, potentially hundreds, thousands of individual images, having a uniform composite of color theory. Here, I'm just trying on a color to see, do I like this color or that color? Do I want this level of tonality or that level of tonality? I did utilize the reference image for its initial flat colors and images, but I think what I'm finding is that I want some really strong contrasts to focus on her eyes and what is essentially her prophesizing. If that orb is personifying her prophecy, I want that to be a focus because that is the focus of this image. Her eyes imply that she is the one kind of conjuring or seeing this. I'm getting a harmonious blue that I'm using as a gel to some amount of transparency to give it a harmonious feel, and then erasing where I want more focus, that being the ball in her eyes. And as secondary interest, the gold highlights of her jewelry, nails, and tattoos. They create a nice contrast with their yellows to all the blue, and painting in the light source that is that ball to create an atmospheric effect. But this is all color exploration for what would be her flats or her rendering quality that I'll then be putting into Toon Boom Harmony. In a professional semi-rigged state, if I want to animate the light source, I can animate the light source because that's going to be its own layer. I can animate her face and her head because that's going to be its own element. This is just a color planning stage, and then I'll be doing much more coherent things in Toon Boom Harmony. But yeah, this turned out to be a much more contrasted color scheme to what it originally was, which was a much lighter, less contrasted color palette. I tried on many different kinds of eyes because I have a rigged character for Toon Boom Harmony that I've been making to teach myself how to rig. I know how to rig now because I made it so difficult that I probably know how to get out of most broken situations and complicated rigged scenarios. I'm very competent in rigging now. As a result, I had very detailed eyes for a rigged character, and I was wondering if I wanted to do something like that here. You can see me really rendering things, which is just an aspect of I like things when they're pretty. Not that I needed it here at all, because this is just for color exploration. I didn't need things to be rendered, but doing color explorations in this way, especially with detail work, where you might want colored line, and that colored line is going to affect your color theory. If you have a colored line, that makes the colors function differently. If you have black line, that's going to make the colors function differently because color theory is just about when colors touch. The detail work is important here because do I want that to be an orange line? Do I want it to be lineless so that the pupil color goes and interacts directly with the eyeball color or the iris color? Is the skin tone going to be directly interacting with the hair color or the background? That sort of thing is where the detail is needed. Looking at it, I just really a two-tone or a two light source piece. I think it creates a nice three-dimensionality where normally you would have the shadow go all the way to the end. I think it's much more realistic to have something of a bounce light. It's just funner to have that bounce light be another color because it stands out more. And then people are like, whoa, I think it's the whole concept for kind of RGB lighting. And when cars have that undercarriage lighting, there's something inherently interesting about instead of a shadow, it's a light source, right? It really makes things pop. It really showcases the three-dimensionality of something. It just looks good. That's what I'm doing here, just adding in another color source because she wasn't too color complex already. Just adds a bit more dynamism. I don't want to go too strong with it because I don't want to get away from the focus, which is the orb and her eyes. But I think inherently this is already a contrasting complementary color to the yellow, so it's not really going to do that. I might tone it down in the final anyways, but this is where finished up. I have not yet implemented this into the actual file. We have gotten this far. Let's look at our sponsor for today's video. We have a sponsor finally, which is crazy because I've produced absolutely no content. How could that be? Because the sponsor is me. I have a Threadless store where I've done a painting. It's an existing painting, but I updated it for the sake of being a product for Threadless. If you're familiar with Threadless, any artist can put up artwork onto the site, and that becomes any number of products that they can print that artwork onto. So here I have created a Poppy Witch. This was a draw this in your style by my partner that I did and then recreated here to be a decal, a sticker, skateboard, right? Here's them now flashing by the screen. Look at it, it's nice, right? I really like the skateboard. That was just like a really inspirational time. It was really fun to paint this and get this artwork done. If you want to support me, this is one way to support me. A probably better way to support me is join my Patreon. For $5 a month, you can just do the cup of coffee level, supporting me via Patreon to produce artwork and be an independent artist where I'm doing music videos, educational content, and vlogs. If you really love me, there is an educational tier where you will find classes, lectures, and presentations from me once a month. You can get a personal one-on-one review of your artwork from me, where I will help you personally improve an art piece. You can submit an art piece, whether that be animation, 3D, 2D, whatever your style is. I will review it, and whatever you want to improve upon, I will improve that for you. I believe I have, just for $15 a month, less than a Netflix subscription, you will get tangible results with your artwork. I do have to limit that to one person a month for now. That's all I can do. Now is a good time to start. I have the availability, basically. So with that tier, you become an actual full member of my Patreon. So you'll have access to exclusive content like my educational content lectures and short form content such as cheat videos for art, little videos that show you how to tangibly get better at your practice with digestible videos, a couple minutes long. You get early access to the music video when it's done and all the production footage before it's up anywhere else. Join Patreon. That would help me a bunch. And you're going to be in the end credits of all my videos going forward. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought. Leave a subscribe. Apparently, if you say and subscribe, the buttons highlight under the video. I'm just going to keep doing that because I want to see if it's working. Subscribe below and hit the bell icon to get notified of the next video.